Do you see this here? This is a cybernetic dragon that can fire rockets from its back. Do you see this here? This is a frozen nope rope, a dragon in the shape of a ferret who also likes rockets. Welcome everyone to 100 Days Palworld Dragons. The goal of this video is to use nothing but dragon type pals for 100 days. Join me as I not only try to survive, but thrive on Sakurajima Island. Here we go again. I spawned in and it was nighttime for some reason. Well, that's weird. I guess the game was using my settings from 100 Days Dark video. I have no idea why it's like this, but it does get fixed later. Just don't worry about it. I'm sure if we ignore it, it'll go away, just like most of life's glaring problems. Alright ladies and germs, I'm not going to bore you with the intro to day one. You by now hopefully know the drill at this point. Axe, pickaxe, torch, weapon, got him. My first pal will be the Chillette boss, and let's just say I don't have very high hopes right now. For some reason, I thought I could tussle with this frozen dragon nope rope, but it got the best of me, and I was put on ice. The Chillette was like Raditz, and I was like Goku at the start of the Saiyan saga. I just wasn't built for this fight. Round 2, and... it's gone. Well, I guess I'll just go do something else for a bit. And something else I did indeed do, like pick fruit from the skill fruit tree. I got a decent one. It was called Iceberg. I would never use it. I don't know why. With me picking fruit from this tree, that was a wrap on day one. Chillette and I once again met on the field of battle, and since I've played about 200 hours of Palworld at this point, I thought that I was the big dog on the island. Yeah, I thought I was Mr. Palworld wide, but I was due for a reality check, and this Chillette taught me a very important lesson in humility. Again, and again. Clearly, I was trying to put the let before the chill, and I just had to get stronger. That was it. I was just too weak at this time. While I was thinking of an effective battle plan, I saw that some wild pals were attacking a syndicate camp, and I wanted in on that action. It would provide me with some basic supplies and valuable experience to level up a bit more. So, we got to work and cleaned up shop. After our Pyrrhic victory, I made myself a spear. I've never really used one of these, and I'm expecting some great things from this tried and true weapon. I also crafted myself a bow, which was part of a healthy, balanced breakfast for beatdowns. I hope. At this point, I need a miracle. It's day 2 and I have nothing to show for it, and if I don't have interesting content to watch, I'll get punished from my red and white overlord. Now that I was kitted out, it was time to get me this Chillette. Just joking, apparently, because I got planted in the ground like a squash. I was feeling quite hopeless at this point. We're only on day 3, and I had my all is lost moment a bit too early. Was this it? The 100 Days Palworld Dragons only run was doomed from the start? Would I never again build my third base on Sakurajima Island? Just when the darkest dark had hit, there was a slight light. At this moment, I had a brain blast. My IQ rose to unfathomable numbers, and I locked in. I was like a caveman that just discovered the gift of fire. I made a pal box next to the Chillette boss, so I wouldn't have to spend half of the day running back if I died. Yeah. That was it. I know I hyped it up, but this one breakthrough would put the wind back in my sails and allow me to go full speed to Victoryville. Population, me. I engaged the Chillette again, and died again. What did you expect? I know I spent the last few sentences gassing myself up, but here we are. When I came back to the Chillette boss, the game must have felt really bad for me, because it just gave me this Chillette. Feels like Palworld just said, "Here, Glahm, just take this Chillette and leave." My pride was shaken, but at least I had a very powerful starter pal to work with. On day 4, I packed up my base camp and moved somewhere better. I don't remember where I moved to, because I'm not reviewing the footage, I'm just reading notes. So we're just gonna have to take my word for it. With my new Chillette, I would have the luxury of traveling the land in style, and I wouldn't have to run everywhere by myself. Chillette may not look it, but this little baby can run at speeds that break the sound barrier. Or, I could just be making that up. We'll never really know. So with all that being said, I crafted my Chillette a saddle, and since I didn't have any pals with handiwork, this took up most of the day. Little did I know that this would be some foreshadowing for later. Anyway, I eventually got the Chillette saddle crafted, and we both mounted up and sallied forth to Sakurajima Island. While we're running, let me explain why. First of all, Sakurajima Island is pretty, and of course, it has that really cool Japan aesthetic. Also, here's another cool thing that I just learned not too long ago. Sakurajima is an actual place in Japan. I actually hope to visit Japan someday, heck, maybe even live there. And you can help by leaving a like, it's all I ask. Thank you! Deep into day 5, we were still running. I'm not gonna lie, I actually enjoy these little excursions to new base locations. They're exciting because you'll never know what you'll see along the way. It had been a while since I grabbed a fast travel, and I was getting into dangerous territory now, and this would come in clutch if I died somehow. Well, Here is the somehow. Chillette and I got into a fight with this surf rent that wanted to have a little scuffle. Chillette ran in for the attack and this surf rent got launched hundreds of feet into the air. When it fell back down, it somehow survived its fall, and then I died somehow. Oof. Luckily, I grabbed that fast travel and was back in the action. As we were running, a supply drop fell down, and this one was surrounded by syndicate lackeys. Chillette and I fought hard to claim this prize. I don't really remember what was inside of it. I didn't write it down, so we'll just assume that the loot wasn't fantastic or just mediocre. Yeah, you decide. On day 6, Chillette and I encountered a Relaxosaurus, and don't let their appearance deceive you. These are amazing pals to have. Yeah, sure, they tend to overeat, and they can be lazy, but they have the potential to become strong, and I really mean strong with proper care. So, I went to catch it. Caught it I did. I made it to the halfway point of this journey, as marked by the Wyvern boss arena. Well, since we're here, we might as well try and catch this bad boy as well. A Wyvern would be an excellent addition to my team on the early game. So, on day 7, it became my mission to catch this Wyvern, I hope. Please don't let this be like catching Chillette. Please just let this be easy, I beg of you. Let's have a look at her traits, and they are... Oh, unstable! She's just like me, for real! The only drawback is that I can unlock her saddle at level 36, and that's still quite a ways away. Oh well, can't dwell on that fact for now, we need to keep moving. Back on the road again. Chillette, Relaxosaurus, and Wyvern, plus me. A ragtag quartet of chaos. There was another pal I had in mind before we went to Sakurajima. I wanted to catch Elphedron as well, so we began running to where the Elphedron boss was, and on the way we caught a Dinosaur. I have rave reviews about Dinosaur. In my first 100 days, Dinosaur was the powerhouse for my pal team for a good long while, and even helped me beat Zoe and Grisbolt, so I have a soft spot for this little guy. After a good while, we finally made it to Elphedron's turf, and me being future-minded made a safety box. I wanted to jump right back into the fight if I died for whatever reason. Soon after, we engaged the Elphedron in combat, and guess what? The Elphedron didn't kill me. Nah, it was just my own gross incompetence. Yeah, I fell off a cliff. Well, it's a good thing I made that PAL box, isn't it? I bounced back like Flubber, starring Robin Williams, and fought the Elphedron again, but this time I got sent to the Shadow Realm. Can't keep me down forever, and I got back into the danger, because I am the danger. This time we locked it in, and after a very long and intense fight, I managed to catch this Elphedron, finally. Surprisingly, its saddle can be crafted early on too. The only thing I needed to craft it was metal, but obviously I couldn't do that right at this moment, so with that being said, we started on our journey again. Day 9 and we finally made it. All I had to do was swim across the ocean and then I'd be on Sakurajima. After swimming ashore, I went and looted trash piles again. Hey, look, alright, I don't have a problem. These things have a chance to give me some insane pal spears early on. You'd have to be crazy not to rummage through this stuff. While I was running around looking for trash piles to stick my bare hands into, I found another fruit tree. The fruit must have not been very good, because that's all I wrote. It's a fruit tree. Wow. Good job, Glahm. It appears we got into a bit of a scrape, because my notes say, accidentally Chillette. I have no idea what that means, but let me get my best acting voice on. Oh man. Oh, that looks like it hurts. Wow. Luckily I managed to get a fast travel just in time. On day 10 I tried to risk it for the proverbial biscuit, and I paid the ultimate price. How unfortunate. Well, since I was here on Sakurajima, I wanted to build my base somewhere a bit different this time around. Normally I would just build my base in the Sakura Forest because, well, do I really need to explain it? There's Sakura trees, come on man. All the places I looked at didn't quite fit the bill, and just as I was going to settle on a typical base location, I settled at the shrine. A bit unorthodox, but I like to imagine my little Palworld guy living inside one of these while his pals take care of and cultivated the shrine. Seems quite cozy, and I like that idea. When I went to put down a PAL box to stake my new claim, I couldn't. I actually forgot that I had already built a PAL box at the Elphedron boss arena. Not to worry. I teleported to my old PAL box, broke it down, and teleported back to the shrine, and got a brand new PAL box placed down, lickety-split. Now that we actually had a foothold here at the shrine, there was a lot of stuff to do. First things first, I placed down some storage chests to free up some inventory space. I'm not sure why I wrote it down with extreme importance, but oh well. Then I got to work getting our food established. The humble red berry would keep us fed for quite a while in this playthrough, so I hope my pals like the taste of... Actually, I have no idea how these things would taste. Raspberry? Strawberry? Who knows? It would taste like Kool-Aid that doesn't have sugar in it for all I know. Of course, we need a place to store all of our future berries we'd be subsisting off of. and I placed down a feeding box as well. Now that we had the essentials taken care of, like food and a place to store our goods, I needed to get myself clothed. I was starting to become a bit self-conscious about my body. I couldn't let all these pals see my absolutely shredded abs for free, so I made some clothes. After getting threaded out, the pal box demanded I made myself a bed that I would never use. As I was crafting the mattress, I was constantly looking over my shoulder at this bushy knock that was wandering a bit too close for comfort. If he saw me, let's just say, I would be sliced into kombu before you could say, oh hey look, it's a bushy knock. So far so good on day 12. Everyone seems to be pitching in and doing their part to make this work. It would take some time for our berries to grow, and I needed a quick solution, so with spear in hand, I did how our ancestors did thousands of years ago, and hunted the beasts of the land to sustain us for the coming winters. Just pretend that I'm a Cro-Magnon man and these lamb balls and chickpeas are caribou. I had spent a good majority of the day hunting for game. When I got back home, I started frying up some berries for my pals. Cooked berries are slightly better than raw berries because they give a wee bit of sanity back. Think of it like throwing a molten hot pizza roll into your mouth right out of the microwave. You're gonna be sharp and alert after that, right? So yeah, I guess it's kinda like that. This took all night, so let's just dive right into day 13. I needed some pal fluids and trophies to make a bit of gold, so on day 13 I took Wyvern out to fight Penking. Penking and I have an ancient rivalry that dates back to the early videos of the Glahm cinematic universe, and I'll just say that he has this coming. Penking didn't stand a chance against Wyvern. Even with a type weakness, Wyvern still folded him like a bad hand in poker. And with the defeat of Penking, I now had enough pal fluids to build an onsen for my pals. Onsen means hot springs in Japanese, just in case you're not old enough to know that. This particular design is called a Goemon bath. I believe a bit of education won't hurt, and if you're interested in reading the full story, I'm sure there are better sources out there, but I'll give you a very watered down version of the story. In Japan's Edo period, there was a renowned thief named Goemon. He must have not been a very good thief because he was caught, and as punishment, he was forced to take a very hot bath. How hot? Probably really hot, because I don't think he walked out alive from that one. Of course, the full story is rich and goes into detail about Goemon's life, and I don't want the video to become too long. I'll have a link to the wiki article in the description. I also made a statue of power that I would actually use this playthrough, surprisingly. Usually I don't even bother with these. And finally, after a day's work was completed, I ran around with Chillette looking for potential new hires, like this Wyvern Botan. You know I had to catch it, but I ended up getting caught in the swift embrace of a permanent sleep. On the start of day 14, I got my stuff back, but I didn't get to keep it for too long because I died again. Like Sisyphus rolling the boulder up the hill, this will become a reoccurring theme in this 100 days playthrough. The silver lining was this dragon egg, and it was massive. I wonder what it could contain. Alas, I didn't make it out alive. I died to a Yakumo. When I returned to the world of the living, I ran across the ravine and picked up the dragon egg, but not too long after I died yet again to a Bushi knock. At this time, I felt ready to fight the first tower boss, and I know. I usually say, I don't know if we get to all the tower bosses, but I actually do fight other tower bosses this time. I know, it's crazy, right? As soon as I made it to the Rain Syndicate Tower, I realized that I forgot all of my pals. Oh my goodness gracious. I'll be right back. A few moments later, and I got my team assembled. We were ready to take down Zoe, and yeah, it was really easy. I kind of feel bad for Grizzbolt. It's just a victim of circumstance. From that fight, I gained some ancient civilization parts and points, and with those, I unlocked the ability to create the egg incubator, and I got one made right away. I chucked the dragon egg inside and waited for it to hatch. Well, I couldn't just sit idly waiting for it to hatch though, now could I? No, stuff needed to get done. I had a legendary pal spear or two of them from chests and trash scattered around the island, and I tried my luck once again with a Wyvern Botan, and needless to say, I got turned into compost. I started off day 16 right, and got this awesome supply drop right off the rip, but of course there was something waiting for an ambush, and I died to a Verdash. When I ran over to collect my things, I saw some ninja fighting a Wyvern Botan, and me, being ever opportunistic, thought that I'd get in on this action. As you'd imagine, things really did not go well for me, and the QB met an untimely end too soon. I had it in the palm of my hands, and it just slipped away. On day 17, I had enough stone gathered up to make a stone pit, and I don't think I need to describe what this thing does, do I? You just get infinite stone from it. I still needed some stone for a logging camp, and I didn't feel like waiting around for my pals to get it for me, so off I went to farm some stone really quickly. Then I placed a logging camp with reckless abandon. I didn't even try to make this look nice, I just ended up moving stuff around a lot in this playthrough. Unsurprisingly, building my base at the shrine made things quite cramped, especially with how big some of these dragon pals can get. I'm looking at you, Yormintide. After I got some things settled at base, I went out again. I needed a pal with kindling to get some metal metal smelted, and as far as I know, there's only Chillet Ignis and Yormantide Ignis. I could find the Yormantide Ignis egg, but Chillet Ignis was here and plentiful, so I figured I'd try to catch them here on Sakurajima. I felt pretty confident in this decision, but spoiler alert, everything went horribly wrong. Usually people click off at the 20-minute mark, which is fine, but if you want to see a grown man suffer for the next 100 days, then stick around for a little while at least. Here, I tried to catch said Chillet Ignis, and well, I died. I ended up throwing in the towel today, and when I returned to base, I was blessed with a Quivern Botan. It had mining, handiwork, and it can plant seeds for you. So it was a decent pal to have all around. Plus, I say this in almost every video I make on Palworld that I really like Quivern. I just think he's neat. I set out again to farm Foxsparks for flame organs. I needed these in great number as the days progressed, mostly to craft furnaces and stuff. Naturally, I was in dire need of some smelted ingots too. Since I was way behind, I needed a quick catch up, and that came in the form of fighting Bushi. When I arrived in the Bushi arena, he sliced me in twain. And when I got back to the arena, I managed to get the jump on Bushi this time around and fought him in Mortal Kombat, meaning I just ran around while my pals did all the work for me, and I'd just sit back and take all the credit. In no time, Bushi was vanquished, and I got some metal ingots to get me started. I ultimately wanted to build a saddle for my Elfidron so I could fly, and it took top priority in getting crafted for now. When I returned to base, I crafted a PAL gear workbench, and this would allow me to make specialized equipment for PALs like saddles and other things. I didn't stick around base for too long today because I wanted to catch a Relaxosaurus Lux. They aren't too terribly remarkable starting out, but these things can become absolute weapons later on, especially if you unlock their rocket launcher saddle. This fight wasn't too crazy. Relaxosaurus Lux tried to chase me down a few times, but we eventually whittled him down enough into catching range. Looking at his traits, oh, he's clumsy. Yeah, you would be clumsy, wouldn't you? Well, I don't have high hopes for this particular Relaxosaurus Lux, but we'll see if we can get him whipped into shape. I also found a Lift Monk effigy stuck under the map. I don't know if these things are a random spawn, but if I were trying to get every achievement in Palworld, I would go insane looking for this thing. I found this one by pure chance. Ah, here we are, the good old run to the fishing village at the foot of Mount Obsidian. I always look forward to this adventure because it marks an important milestone for every Palworld 100 Days video I make. It took up most of the day to get there, and when I did arrive, I checked the merchants and bought myself a nice new set of fur armor. I say this in almost every video, but I will never understand how wearing animal furs in a volcanic region can make you feel cool, you know, like temperature-wise. After I got armored up, I stuck around for a while and farmed more wild Bushi for metal ingots and bones, and then that wrapped up day 20 quite nicely, I think. On day 21, I made a feed bag so I wouldn't have to manually feed my pals, so that's a plus, I guess. Then I went and farmed more Bushi for metal. I was really close to creating my Elfidron saddle now. I just needed a bit more metal and I'd be golden. I still needed more Pallium fragments as well, and I began farming as much as I could find. And when I got back to base, a ninja snuck in and wasted no time in going full Tenchu Z on me, killing me and all of my pals. When I spawned back in, I had no idea where the ninja went. He was too good at his job. Oh well, I didn't let that small setback hinder me for too long, and I finally made my Elfidron a saddle so I could become airborne. Been a long time since I last used Elfidron in Palworld, so I was curious to see how well it could handle itself in the air. Hey, so long as it was faster than a Nightwing, I won't complain. At the start of the day, Elfidron and I got an okay supply drop. Hey, free elixirs are free elixirs, right? I had an important mission today. It was to find a dragon egg at Mount Obsidian. I was in desperate need of a pal with the kindling ability, and Yormantide Ignis was perfect for my needs. Hey, go big or go home. Go home is what I should have done because I searched all day for a huge dragon egg, and I searched for so long that a lucky pal spawned in, and I wasn't about to go find out what it was either because I was too scared. Day 23, I was still searching. And the day is short, because that's all I did. When I went to land to give Elfidron a small break from flying, I guess its foot touched a pixel of lava and I burned to death. Honestly, this was the moment that broke me. Here is where I was thinking about ending this 100 days run and just giving up. It was a huge struggle to get even this far, and I just lost all the stuff that I had been collecting for the past month in Palworld. I was feeling so lost now, and I didn't know what to do. Would I even be able to bounce back from this catastrophic failure? Frustrated with how things were turning out, I called it a day and just took a small break. Chillet was also feeling a bit sad as well. So sad, in fact, that she developed depression. So today I went to a merchant and bought medication to help her feel a bit better. After giving Chillette the help she needed, we both went out and started terrorizing land balls for wool, and some fox sparks for even more flame organs. I needed to get my belongings back, and the only thing I could think of at the moment was to make a tropical cloth outfit, and that would hopefully stave off the heat from Mount Obsidian. With my new outfit ready to go, I teleported and was attacked immediately by hooligans. Alphedrun and I fled as fast as we could get away. We managed to give our assailants the slip. Then we began the long climb up the volcano to get my bag back. On day 26, we flew to the top of the volcano to unlock the central teleport location, you know, just in case anything bad happened. Alphedrun and I got my stuff back, and as I was sorting the bag, Jet Dragon decided to pay a surprise visit, and I almost died. Quickly, we fled as fast as we could, and as I was writing down my notes for the day, Jet Dragon caught up and actually killed me. Great. This 100 days will definitely knock a few years off of my mortal lifespan. Mark my words. So I saw an interesting method on how to catch Jet Dragon easily, and the idea was to place a campfire down and let it burn itself until its health gets low enough to catch. This method at the moment was easier said than done, because as soon as the campfires were down, everything just went wrong and it did not work. Oh well, at least I got the supply drop to put me back on my feet, alright? The best part of this supply drop was the +2 heat resistant shirt that I got, and you'd think something like this would help with pals that spit fire, right? Well no, you would be wrong. I spent all day fighting this Chillette Ignis in the hopes that I could get lucky and catch it, but wouldn't you know it, I just couldn't. When I went back to the base to calm down from the events of the day, I noticed Relaxosaurus Lux phasing in and out of reality as we know it. You see, I told you that it had some kind of latent powers. We just need to harness it in the days to come. On day 29, I went out to try and catch myself a Chillette Ignis again. Let's just say that I didn't have the greatest of luck. They'd either end up cooking me alive, or they'd just end up running away. At this point, I was just over it. That's mostly what happened today. I was set on catching one of these things, no matter the cost, because I didn't want to go back to Mount Obsidian, understandably I hope, and the pain seemed very worth it at the time. Eventually, I was beaten down enough and just called it quits for today, and I retreated back to the shrine to rethink my strategy. I entered Zen mode and helped my pals with crops and did some odd jobs around the base to keep myself focused. For day 30, the only thing I have written down is I'm literally going insane, and we'll just have to take my word for it. Well, Glahm, chin up and hit it again tomorrow. I will go on and say that these Chillette Ignis are no joke when you're severely underleveled. Not even my dark playthrough was as rough as this dragon's only playthrough. Who knew that winged beasts that can spit fire and level castles on a whim could be so moody? Certainly not me. Ah well, tomorrow is another day, my glamorous people. The only solution I could think of when it came to the Chillette Ignis problem was I needed to level a bit so my pals and myself wouldn't be so squishy, and so I went back to the windswept hills to fight the Mamarest boss. Things were going relatively fine, my pals and I were working like a well-oiled machine, and we even got really close to putting the Mamarest boss down. For some reason, my brain completely shut off at this moment. I have no idea why. It was like someone had flipped a switch, and well, yeah. Well, that didn't quite go as planned, so off I went again to fight the Relaxosaurus Lux, and Pen King was next. Mostly for POW fluids. I suppose the experience wouldn't hurt either. My whirlwind tour continued into day 32, and I tried to fight the Alphedrun boss again. I figured having another one around the base might be somewhat useful, and I gave it my all, coach. I put my heart and soul into trying to capture this thing, and nothing worked, so regretfully, we had to put her down. A little ways away from the Alphedrun boss arena was Patalia. I think I almost died during this fight. I don't really remember. It's been a couple weeks, but I'm pretty sure we came out on top, because right after, I fought the King Paka boss. And just down the hill from old King Paka and his vassals was the small settlement, which I stopped at to unlock a fast travel for future use, and sold some of the trophies that were cluttering my bags. At this time, Alphedrun was feeling a bit depressed as well, and wasn't moving as fast as he used to, so I bought him some medicine, and in no time he was up and feeling at him right away. I didn't notice it in the other playthroughs, but when party pals are feeling depressed, or if they're injured, it greatly affects their abilities, like they'll run slower if you use them as a mount, and they get noticeably worse in combat, so it's important to keep on top of their health. I needed to stop back at base to check on my pals and see if everything was running smoothly in my absence, and oh, thank goodness everything was fine for the most part. I also had enough pal fluids from King to make another hot spring to keep my pal's sanity topped off, just in case this excursion took a bit too long. I said my goodbyes and headed back into the world, and my first stop after our short rest was the Bushi boss. Bushi didn't stand a chance, and then it was off to Bron Cherry Aqua. I'm sure you can imagine what happened to it. I had felt pretty great about my progress we'd made so far. We're becoming strong, and soon we'll be able to go toe-to-toe with anything on Sakurajima, outside of Seiya and Celine. Those two are on a whole different level altogether. Our rampage didn't stop on day 33 either, and we went right into day 34 fighting bosses. I fought and beat the Fanglope boss, and with that I leveled and was finally able to unlock the Quivern saddle. Hey, nothing against Elphedrine, but Quivern is just better. Better speed, better stats, just all around better. I wasted no time and returned home and got myself geared again and ventured to the volcano. Hopefully, I would be able to get my things back. Of course, I didn't stick around for too long. I had things to do, which is what I would have said if I didn't AFK for the rest of the day. When I got back, I went straight to work and started fighting a Chillet Ignis once again. These things have been playing me like a fiddle this entire playthrough, and I could really use that W. Wishful thinking though, because of course this Chillet would end up sending me to an eternal rest. Of course, I am losing my mind! I tried again, and now a Yukumo killed me. Man, I'm just gonna have to come back tomorrow. This is horrible. On day 36, I had finally caught a Chillet Ignis. Holy moly, I can finally smelt my own metal. I could barely contain my excitement as I farmed some ore, and with triumph, I waited the rest of the day for it all to smelt. Now, Relaxosaurus had depression, and I had to go back to the small settlement to get some medicine. We got Relaxosaurus cured and returned back to base to collect all the metal that had been smelting on day 36. I would need some Paldium fragments in the future, and I spent most of the day placing and rearranging a stone crusher, and for some reason, Relaxosaurus refused to use it. Of course, I'm sure the devs didn't intend for people to build an actual base here at the shrine, so I can't really blame Relaxosaurus for this one too much, but with much fuss, I got the crusher placed and Relaxosaurus got to work. I didn't do a whole lot today after that, so let's just go right into day 38. I started crafting Quivern's saddle after much headache. Yes, this took all day. Yes, the sudden realization that most dragon pals don't have good handiwork skills hit me like truck kun. Honestly, I wish I was isekai'd. At least then I'd be overpowered, and then people would love me. Also, whilst I was running around base, Relaxosaurus politely notified me that it couldn't find the crusher about 400 times, so that was something. After making some preparations, I felt like it was time to get another dragon pal, and this time I had Yormantide on the mind. Par for the course of this 100 days, nothing worked out and everything went horribly wrong. As I was trying to dodge an attack from Yormantide, a Swee, or a Sweepa, I can't really remember, got in my way as I was trying to dodge, and well, yeah, that's all she wrote, baby. On day 39, I went back to try again. Wouldn't you know it, things went horribly wrong yet again. I had to retreat and Yormantide managed to somehow snipe Quivern as we were fleeing. Rip Quivern. Oh, I'm just having the worst kind of luck. You already know I had to try again on day 40. Having a Yormantide would be a huge blessing for my base, so here we go again, entwined in this endless waltz. I'm not sure how it happened, but for some reason Yormantide got launched up into the air. It was quite the spectacle. And you know what else is crazy? This isn't the first time this will happen in this video. Ah, well, the fun was over. I had run out of good pal balls and decided to just put old Yormantide down. Unfortunately, since the Yormantide died on the water, I got no loot from it. Big rip. Frustrated and feeling the weight of defeat, I returned home and made a bunch of nails. Day 41 was just a day of reflection and rest. I just hung around base and did chores for the entire day. I had to build myself back up after taking so many L's, but it was a good day, at least, nonetheless. I guess all I did today was fight the Verdash boss for a quick level. I'm sorry these days seem so short, y'all. I was really hanging on by a thread in these 100 days. I was just so far behind on everything, and it just became a little overwhelming. So let's just go into day 43. Alright, here we go again. Once again, I'm fighting Yormantide. Things were going super well. Almost too well. I had a gut feeling that I should put Relaxosaurus Lux away and try to catch the Yormantide, but I didn't listen to my own self. And Yormantide died again. This time, it was my fault. fault. Yeah, I'll admit it. I got a bit careless, and it came back to bite me really hard. I'm not too good at segues, so I ended up in the desert region. I wanted to unlock Dune Shelter and eventually go to the Wildlife Sanctuary to try and catch an Ursurk or an Astagon. Ursurk? Did I say that right? I don't. Who cares? Because I'd much rather wander around the sanctuary for hours looking for an Astagon than fight the actual boss Astagon under Mount Obsidian. On our travels, we came across a Dinosaur Lux, and I caught it. No difficulty. I wouldn't use him too much, but hey, he's there. I also stopped to fight some Dazzy to collect their clouds. I didn't use these in my other playthroughs, but there's an item you can craft called Homeward Thunder Cloud, and it acts as a teleport directly to your base anywhere in the world. For some reason, my brain stopped working again, and I actually died to a Dazzy. Shame. Shame befalls me. Night started to fall, and I'm just gonna be honest, I wouldn't be getting my stuff back tonight because you freeze in the desert when the sun goes down, so I just went home. The next day, I went back to the desert to get my stuff back, and I actually managed to get it. But this is 100 Days Dragons, and anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Out of nowhere, a stupid Toko managed to RKO me as I was sorting through my backpack. Well, I guess there's a silver lining. I got a pretty okay supply drop, so there's that. Night eventually reared its ugly head once again, and I tried my best to escape back to my base, or just anywhere but here, and regrettably, I actually froze to death. I got my stuff back and made my way over to Dune Shelter. When I got there, I purchased a multi-climate shirt to better protect my body from the harsh elements, in theory anyway. While I was here, I also bought a bunch of tomato and lettuce seeds. I explained it before, but I'll do it again, just in case you're new here. When you combine lettuce and tomato, you get an LT, but in Palworld, you get a salad. Salad increases the work efficiency of pals, making them perform work tasks faster. It's also super cheap to make, and it restores a ton of sanity. I'd argue it's one of the greatest foods in the game, you know, next to the Mozzarella cheeseburger, but who has the time to go farm all that? Certainly not me. Well, I do have all the time actually, because this is my job, but I won't. When I got back to base on day 46, I made a tomato plantation, and while I was getting things settled, a Bushi managed to sneak up on me and slice me into yakitori. Well, at least I died at base, so I didn't have to spend half of the day getting my stuff back, so that's always a plus. I also managed to put down a lettuce plantation, and when that was done, I finally got around to making a high quality workbench, which allowed me to craft an overshield. Yeah, I know, it only took 46 days for me to get here, but what do you want from me, okay? I'm doing my best. This entire playthrough is super scuffed. Hopefully with the shield equipped, I wouldn't die as much. Oh, I also made a medical bench. I'm not going to use it ever, but the pal box told me to do it, and yeah, I obey. I went to one of the other wildlife sanctuaries to catch a Yormantide Ignis, since I didn't have any luck finding a large dragon egg at Mount Obsidian. I was getting pretty up there in levels, so this was likely the most logical thing to do. I don't know, I'm flying by the seat of my clown pants here. Eventually, I made it to the wildlife sanctuary and spotted the perfect specimen to catch. And I actually caught this one too, with little effort. Finally, something was going right for me. Sheesh. My plan was to stick around and try to catch a few Yormantide Ignis. Who knows, I might need more at some point. Actually, no I'm not. I used up all my pal spheres. Well, guess I'll just leave. I had completed enough missions from the pal box to get it upgraded, and I was allowed to have 2 bases now. I felt pretty good, because I was starting to make some actual progress at least. And that was all of day 48. I know I just said that I was making some progress, but here we are, rooting around in trash again. I can't help it, okay? It's addicting, knowing that I can get legendary pal spheres for so little effort. I don't know why, it just fills my brain with some kind of primal dopamine. I only got 2 brain cells left, and they're trying to figure out how to make a baby. I find this entertaining. So this is my life now, spending 22 or so minutes of my real life, or 100 days in game, sorting through trash piles. Yes, I did indeed do this all day. Day 50 started with me catching another Wyvern. I needed another pallet base, and after that little scuffle with Wyvern, I headed over to the small settlement to purchase some wheat seeds. I figured that I'd like to do some breeding a bit later. Not me, the pals. I already used that joke before. And no, I don't care. At least with Dragon Pals, there's one of every type just about, so I can actually make use out of most of the production facilities this game has to offer. When I got home, I made a wheat plantation and stared at it until it produced wheat. Watching wheat grow was boring, so I went into the world again with my sights on finally catching that Yormantide, and yeah, I actually did, wowee, but I did die in the process. At least I caught it, so I'm willing to put up with it. Yeah, it only took 51 in-game days, but like Mom's crochet projects, it's eventually all coming together, I hope. The only pal I really needed at this time was Astagon, and by now, if you've seen my other Palworld videos, we're gonna have some problems. Anyway, away I went, despite my better judgment to try and catch an Astagon. Stay tuned. Yep, Astagon is going to be a complete ass-tagon. Just let me catch you for once. As soon as I got my stuff back on day 53, I tried to tango mana and mana with the Astegon again, but you already know how that went, I'm sure. So I just gave up and went home. My plan was to collect Lift Monk effigies for the rest of the day to raise my capture power, or something. All of the L's I've been accumulating are starting to pile up. When I got back to base, I noticed that things were looking a little cramped, and I considered moving. I don't know where I'd go. I like it here, but my dragon pals are getting stuck on stuff. I was still collecting Lift Monks on day 54, and I had no idea that Relaxosaurus were on Sakurajima. Crazy. I spent over 150 hours on this island across all of my 100 days accounts, and I never really bothered coming over here. Oh, the more you know. I also managed to find a few more legendary spheres from chests and trash piles. I will be sure to waste them on Astegon in the days to come, I'm sure. Which, on day 55, I stood in front of Astegon yet again. Maybe this time I'll actually catch it. Right? Please? Wow, I actually managed to catch it. All I had to do was ask nicely. After a long and hard-fought battle, I managed to catch Astegon with my last legendary Pal Sphere. With this moment, it was like a wave of calm washed over me, and I was in the zone. Yet, I was relieved at the same time. I would never have to do this again, until the next Palworld video at least. Maybe. You best believe I put Astegon to work in the mine right away. It's penance from putting me through so much stress. While Astegon toiled away, I was laughing and took a small break waiting for iron to pile up. The start of day 56, I opened up a supply drop and I was gifted the stupidest, most brokenest, craziest pendant in the game. It's not an opinion, it's a fact. I got myself a Diligence Pendant +2. In my last 100 days using only Dark Pals, this thing single-handedly carried the entire playthrough. It'll do the same thing this time around as well. To celebrate this wild success, I farmed Dazies in the desert for their clouds, and I even unlock the tower fast travel. Yeah, I'll fight Marcus, just not right now. Today I returned to the wildlife sanctuary in the desert. I wanted to catch another Astegon, or maybe an Orsurk if the Palworld gods would be gentle with me. This took up most of the day. The spawns here were not very good. On day 58, I had managed to capture myself another Astegon, but I was a greedy boy and stayed all day looking for another one. Yeah, I was doubling down when I should have just taken the money and run. The gacha-esque game of chance to have your desired pal spawn in was like fishhooks for my brain, and my brain was a silly little trout looking for an easy meal. I became hooked on the idea of owning 4 Astegons, and I wouldn't leave until I captured them. I don't have a problem. My little adventure would come to an abrupt end today. I spotted another Astegon, and I made the move to catch it. However, somehow, Quivern managed to aggro 3 other pals at once. Things did not come out rosy for your boy. Quivern had cashed a check, and it bounced. Do people even write checks anymore? Or did that die out lately? I don't know. I got rolled and eventually got my stuff back. It's time to hit the showers, I guess. I was back with a vengeance on day 60. I'm glad I was here because I managed to catch an Orsurk. It was very stressful. It could have been. That's what my notes say. I couldn't celebrate for too long though because I had a date with a Bushi and it wanted to show me its cool katana. What I'm trying to say is, it killed me. Day 61, and I managed to catch another Astegon. Come on, baby, just one more and I'll call it quits. I swear this time. Well, someone was listening because it wasn't too long before I stumbled across another Astegon. I also opted into using the Jormuntide Ignis to fight it because this particular one has Mercy Hit, meaning that it can't reduce an enemy pal's hit points below 1. In theory, anyway, because the Astegon died. To make sure I wasn't losing my mind, I double-checked, and yes, indeed, this Jormuntide Ignis does have Mercy Hit. I guess she lit the Astegon on fire or something? Oh well, 3 is good enough for now, I guess. On another note, I don't know why I didn't just breed Astegon. It seems like a missed opportunity. I could have avoided all of this undue stress. But as they say, hindsight is always 20/20, and I'll just chalk this up to a learning experience. I know some of the more seasoned Palworld players in the audience, you know who you are just salivating at the thought of calling me trash at this game and brag about how they have 5,000 hours of playtime and their dad works at Pocket Pair or something, to which I say, no one cares, bro. Day 62, I swallowed my pride and went back to Mount Obsidian. Flying around the wildlife sanctuary was getting quite boring, and I was getting very impatient, and I wanted some guaranteed result. So here I was again at the Astegon boss, really wishing that I had just made a breeding ranch and just bred more Astegons, but I'm an idiot. On day 63, I was surprised by a Xenoguard, and well, I caught it. Xenoguard has Mining 3, and it's not as good as an Astegon, but it was leaps and bounds ahead of poor Quivern. But the real main event was me fighting Astegon again. Of course it broke out of all of my pal spears, because why wouldn't it? This outcome was as predictable as the Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight. So I just killed Astegon, or maybe I didn't, who knows? It's all in the surprise of not reviewing the footage. Oh, I guess I actually did manage to beat the Astagon boss because it knocked out Wyvern and I had spent all day running on foot to fast travel beacon. It's a good thing I had Orsurk with me, and that Orsurk is overpowered because I doubt I would have made this journey by myself. Of course, this could just be hyperbole. I've survived way worse before in this game solo, like surviving on Sakurajima as a level 15. Anyway, Orsurk and I spent the entire day running, so let's just go on to the next day. It says in my notes that Orsurk dunked on a lamb ball. I guess that was so important that I just had to write it down. So yes, here's Orsurk dunking on a lamb ball. I had a big project coming up that needed a lot of power fluids, mostly to craft cement, and I was actually broke, so I had to do things with some elbow grease, like wipe out an entire ecosystem to get these power fluids. Orsurk and I went to the Gobfin's turf, and we got busy farming fluids. I had logged out and upped the wild pal spawn count because I wanted to see the true power of Orsurk in action. And let's just say I wasn't disappointed. One lightning strike was enough to wipe out whole swaths of Gobfins, and it filled my brain with some kind of primal dopamine. Hey, it was fun to me. It was so fun, in fact, I stayed all day farming pal fluids until I hit this magical number that I won't say out loud for obvious reasons. When I got home, I put the pal fluids away in a wooden chest, and I began crafting a ton of wayward thunderclouds. I'd put these to good use a bit later, and someone in my last video actually told me a great use for feed bags. I never thought about using them as extra inventory space when I picked up junk food, like bread, a few slices of pizza from a chest. So, thank you for telling me. I seriously never would have thought of this. After the giant feed bag was made, I checked on the progress of my Astagon mining team, and they were all stars. Just look at all of this metal. Glad to see that all of my suffering was well worth it. With Orsurk's help, he and I cracked down and made a ton of cement for refined forges. I could finally craft myself a mid-game set of armor and get out of these furs, or cloth clothes. Didn't do much today. I just made myself a weapon workbench because the pal box told me to. Then I just did chores around the base most of the day. Kind of a short day, yeah, but hey, it is what it is. On the day that everybody likes, I made 2 upgraded hot springs, which would alleviate the stress that my pals were accumulating from me working them to the bone. Afterwards, I made myself a grappling gun. Yeah, I know it's only day 60, and I could have made it on like day 20, but I didn't. I needed some pal oils and a few more levels, so I thought I'd hit up the Mamorest boss at Windswept Hills again. Apparently, I forgot to put the PAL spawn slider back to where it was because there were 2 Mamorest bosses. Somehow, one way or another, one of them got flung into the stratosphere, effectively being the first PAL in space for who knows how long. We'd managed to beat the first Mamorest boss, and as I was writing my notes down in my notebook, the other Mamorest fell back to Earth and scared the living heck out of me. I wasn't quite done yet today, and we found ourselves back at Gobfin's turf. I was here to fight Warsect. It had been a long time since I saw it, and well, wow, it's a Warsect. Now he's gone. Rest in peace. Apparently my spree didn't end with Warsect because here we are at the Univolt boss and it went down. I also defeated Garagoth Thorm 2, I guess. Then the Felbat boss. Man, I'm just all over the place today. With all of those bosses defeated, I had enough ancient technology points to unlock the coal mine, meaning I would never have to leave the shrine to get any, so I consider this a win. With haste, I got the coal mine built, and the first raid of the playthrough happened. It was a complete wash. I don't know why they even tried. To celebrate the absolute beatdown that just occurred, I made myself a glider and an assembly line. I wanted to eventually build a generator, so I splurged a bit and bought myself a ton of electric organs to get me started. Then I made a generator, just like I promised. See, I told you I'd make one. In the next few days, I'd start making a bunch of random stuff to close the massive power gap that I had been suffering from, like this feed bag, because why not? Then I made myself some fresh new headgear and finally a refined set of metal armor. It was about time. Since I was upgrading everything at this point, I also upgraded my tools like my axe and my pickaxe. I needed to farm a ton of quartz for circuit boards and went into the mountains. I made it to the area right as night fell. If I put my torch away, I'm going to die. So I just chilled, literally, all night. When the sun came up and it was safe to do so, I farmed as much quartz as I could carry, and when I was encumbered, I used a homeward thundercloud to escape back home. Then I got to work crafting a ton of circuit boards. I would still need a lot of these for a huge project a bit later. In the most uninspiring day, I just sat around and waited for my pals to mine coal. Yep, aren't you glad you subscribed? I built a production line too, and it was better late than never. I also made a hyper shield, then I bought a ton of pal oil. I placed an electric furnace down, happy face, bought a ton of materials as well, so I wouldn't have to farm later. I started working on a set of pal metal armor, and I was feeling a bit stronger now. I also made the helmet as well. I didn't do much today, I just built a sphere assembly line 2. Yeah, I would actually use it a bit later though. I was running around Sakurajima, and I found a tree that had the lightning strike fruit on it. I'm gonna give it to Astagon, and with this fruit, Astagon will become a farming powerhouse. Oh, I also made Astagon a saddle too. Kinda need that. I'm not sure if they updated the speed for Astagon, but he can fly really fast. This one has nimble, but I'm pretty sure that they weren't this fast before. I'm not complaining, this is fantastic. So check this out, here's what Astagon can do with Lightning Strike. I can farm all of these quartz nodes at once. It was overpowered. So I was going to Mount Obsidian again because I wanted to catch Jetragon, and I looked over and I saw a ton of Vanworm. It was enough Vanworm to make me feel very uncomfortable. So diligently and carefully, I started setting up a flame trap for Jetragon, and wouldn't you know it, the trap actually works. Unfortunately though, he lost aggro a ton, so I needed a gun to keep him aggroed to me. Bought myself a crude pistola. It wasn't the best gun on the market, but it would at least keep Jetragon aggroed to me long enough to where the fires can whittle him down. And with enough patience, we managed to capture the Jetragon, and it had muscle head. I couldn't have asked for a better legendary pal. I guess we also fought a Sibylle too. Sibylle? I don't know how to say that actually. And now, like I said at the start of the video, we're gonna try and fight another tower boss. We're gonna try and fight Lily and Lylene. Wish me luck. With little effort, Jetragon and I mopped up shop and defeated Lily and Lylene. I defeated Yorm, and I defeated the other one as well. And while I was in the desert, I fought Menacing, and I used it to level. I killed Lily and Lylene again, because why not? I needed levels, man. Now I'm going to try and fight Marcus. I know for a fact that I may not get very far in this fight, but it's worth a shot. Yeah, just as I thought, no dice. When I got back to Sakurajima Island, I fought the menacing Terra world boss. I just hid up on the hill while Jetragon did all the work. I'm not gonna get my hands dirty. Because I was feeling adventurous, I decided to run a cave on Sakurajima Island, and I had a bunch of really bad frame drops in here. My poor little 3060 6-core CPU was struggling. It was wheezing to keep up with this, but we persevered. I forgot how great the Sakurajima caves look. This place is absolutely immaculate. It's so beautiful. As we delve deeper into the cave, there was a ninja stuck under the map, which is another reoccurring theme on Sakurajima Island I've noticed. At the end of this, there was a Wyvern boss. It hosed all of my pal spheres. I tried to catch it, I really tried, but at least I leveled up from it, so I can't complain. I'm not sure where I got it, but I have an absolutely insane plasteel armor blueprint that I will never use, which is pretty unfortunate. And like I said a few days ago, I started making circuit boards. I needed them for the Jetragon saddle. I would have to be crazy not to use this thing as a primary flying mount now. Making the Jetragon saddle is taking a lot of effort. It needs a lot of refined ingots for some reason, even though we're past that stage. Yep. This is gonna take a while. It literally took all day, but it's finally done. And to reminisce on the first Palworld video I ever made, I took Jetragon out to the windswept hills, and I bombed the angry lady, because why not? Then it was a quick hop over to the wildlife sanctuary once again. I caught an Ezerobe. I wanted to try and catch an Elphedron Aqua, but unbeknownst to me, you can only get this through breeding, and I needed a pal that I could not catch because it's a 100 Days Dragon challenge. Unfortunately, I will not be able to get an Elphedron Aqua this playthrough. I'm sorry to disappoint you. We're on the final stretch of this 100 days, and admittedly, there's not a whole lot left for me to do. So out of boredom and curiosity, I took Jetragon and we flew over to the big tree off in the distance, and you still can't go there, so this trip was kind of pointless. Oh, I also upgraded my PAL capture power. It's kind of too late to really have a huge impact, but oh well. I made a ton of refined ingots also to make a stove. I still had a bunch of extra materials lying around. I decided to give myself a little treat, and I made myself a Giga grappling gun. And then I crafted the amazing cooking stove. And I just spent the rest of the day exploring, cause why not? I never really actually took the time to appreciate the absolute size of the Palworld map as it is. Yes, I know it's really empty and there's not a whole lot to do, but it's still just fun to go out and have an adventure, because why not? I started crafting myself cold-resistant PAL armor, because I like this version better than the other one, and I also made my secondary base that we would never really use. I needed to build some oil drills, and holy moly, that's a lot of circuit boards. I flew to the wildlife sanctuary again to catch more Yormantide Ignis, but I was spotted by the fuzz, so I didn't stick around for too long. So all I did today at base was craft a bunch of objects to help pals do their jobs a lot better. Like, I crafted the fountain, I built a silo, I built a stump and axe, a flower bed, and then I placed down a minecart to help pals mine better, and a toolbox. It's supposed to help pals improve their handiwork. And all these structures do, like I said, is just boost pals' work efficiency. I'm pretty sure I talked about this in my first Palworld video, but yeah, it's too late. I'm hanging on by a thread here, okay? I'm also improvising, I'm not reading a script, I'm going off of my raw notes. Please forgive me if these days are short. Yes, I used my dog coins. Finally, in all of my Palworld 100 Days videos, I say that I'll use them. This video is the video. I bought myself a Cognito mask. And when I got back to base, I actually saw that the minecart that I had placed down actually does make a huge difference. Holy moly. Then I spent the rest of my gold on Pal oil, and after all of that work, I'm still no closer to crafting an oil pump. I made a weapon assembly line too, and I started to make myself a hyper grappling gun. I also made a large lamp, and it is bright. I've never made one of these before, but this lit up the whole shrine. I also made myself a Giga Glider, just because. And while I was exploring Sakurajima, I found a master pal tamer. She made the mistake of calling me Kitten. That's what she gets for calling me Kitten. So, I tried to fly out to the oil rig to have, like, some big grand finale for you guys. And, I died on the oil rig. Yeah. There's the finale. I died on the oil rig, that's all you're getting. Well, here I am, back at square one. I just sat in the hot springs and watched the sunrise. To pass the time, I actually did read some lore. Turns out Seiya really likes her sake, and she only drinks it on certain moon cycles. And as the sun set one final time on this 100 days, I sat on top of the shrine and looked down at all I had done and felt unfulfilled. Thank you for watching. Thank you for making it to the end. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen, for the next 100 days video. I'll see you in the next one.